making it really hard on yourself now. Why don't you call me my name, man?
Well, what's your name?
Israel Mobolaji Temitayo Odunayo Oluwafemi Owolabi.
Alex Pereira!
Not Adesanya.
Adesanya.
Pô, não tinha uma condição de vida legal, né? Meu pai pedreiro, minha mãe dona de casa. E, pô, nesse tempo eu aprendi também muitas coisas como beber.
November 12th at Madison Square Garden. How are you, champ?
I'm very well. I was just in the zone and flow, taking it as what it is. I'm not living in the past.
Adesanya is the undisputed king of the middleweight!
The last style bender in search of a third successful middleweight title defense.
Play with that dude, man! That power is different. It's extraordinary.
How many trilogy series have there been in UFC history that can't be forgotten?
Andy the Natural Couture against Chuck the Iceman Liddell.
The battles that really stand out, the conflicts that sank deep into our consciousness and have remained with us all these years. There's nothing more thrilling or exciting than rivalries dating back years before fighters became the stars they are today.
He's tagged Uriah with a right hand there.
Even the most exciting rivalries are the ones that culminate in knockout victories for one fighter over another, especially if the latter goes on to become a UFC superstar and a legend of the sport.
One of the greatest, if not the greatest of all time, and you saw that in that fight.
Yeah. Some of those rivalries arise due to the fighter's motivation to be the best. Others are born due to grudges.
I was boxing the bleeding head off him, kicking the bleeding leg off him. This is not over.
Some fighters want to repair an injustice in their eyes, something that was taken from them and now they want it back. Such is the rivalry between Israel Adesanya and Alex Pereira at UFC 281. They'll square off again in a battle that has the potential to make one of them a UFC star or the greatest middleweight champion in UFC history.
We know who's next, that Poha.
Both of them are willing to risk their lives to prove something to the world. On November 12th, we are going to experience a blockbuster night of entertainment in one of the world's greatest arenas, Madison Square Garden, the UFC 281. In what is being called the toughest bout in UFC history, Adesanya will defend the belt against Periera. It is the fight between Brazil's hardest-hitting kickboxer.
But then throws a body kick, and down goes Marcus. That is a knockdown!
And the UFC middleweight champion with God Mode, the one and only Israel Adesanya.
Man, the way he mixes that up is just so beautiful.
Over the past few years, the UFC middleweight champion has experienced a tremendous rise in the rankings. Israel Adesanya has stolen the spotlight at every single opportunity. Combining his world-class striking, superstar charisma, and humble personality, the man known as the last style bender, he has emerged as the guy that the UFC needs to carry forward.
I like staying active because honestly, I don't have like 10 more years in this game.
Since making their UFC debuts, Adesanya and Periera have had one of the fastest rises in combat sports. Their fight is one of the most hyped bouts on the promotion's main event. This is the story of the last style bender, Israel Adesanya, and the deadliest kickboxer, Alex Pereira, two professional mixed martial artists. Born in Lagos, Nigeria, in 1989, Israel was the oldest of 5 children. His mother worked as a nurse, while his father was an accountant. Izzy's parents were financially stable, but worried they couldn't offer their children the best start in Nigeria. Indeed, the budding fighter felt like the odd one out, as everyone he knew seemed to be treading the path of study. Disgusted from treading the herd-like path, a 19-year-old Adesanya resolved to ditch studying and pursue his martial arts interest after watching the movie On back in 2008. The teenager trained in Muay Thai for a year and would defy his coach Derek Broughton and go on to fight Neroni Savonaya in 2009. Adesanya would face a loss but learn from his defeat. Undeterred by his first loss, Adesanya moved to Auckland, New Zealand, where he submitted himself to the tutelage of a new trainer, Eugene Behrman. It was here that he coined the term broken native, which meant odd one out.
It's gonna hurt. Losing hurts more. Come on.
With years of struggle, Eugene helped him master the elements of boxing and kickboxing. Izzy put his UFC dream on the back burner, and after spending 8 months in China for training, he returned to Auckland in 2014. Adesanya quickly became one of the sport's most entertaining stars, building up a kickboxing record of 75 wins and 5 losses. Israel won 3 King of the Ring tournaments.
And these CKB boys will certainly be having a party tonight.
The Glory Middleweight Championship, and the Hex Fight Series Middleweight Championship before signing with the UFC.
I've been telling people I'm one of, if not the best striker on the planet, you know.
Adesanya signed with the UFC in December 2017. He made his debut against Rob Wilkinson at UFC 221 in the middleweight division, which he won in the second round by a TKO.
Well, you know who I am now!
At UFC 243, he fought Robert Whittaker to unify the UFC Middleweight Championship. It was a fight that was viewed as the biggest battle in the history of mixed martial arts. Adesanya knocked out Whittaker in the second round and became the undisputed UFC Middleweight Champion. Adesanya would go up to face Jan Blachowicz for the light heavyweight title. However, Adesanya struggled to control the tempo of the fight and lost it by a unanimous decision. It's his only loss in the UFC. After the loss, Adesanya went back to middleweight and easily defended his title against Marvin Vettori at UFC 263.
It'll be 3 successful title defenses for the champion Israel Adesanya.
Adesanya then faced the killer gorilla Jared Cannonier at UFC 276. Adesanya eased to a unanimous decision win over Cannonier and retained his middleweight title. On that same card at UFC 276, Alex Pereira buzzed the world and Sean Strickland's chin with his electrifying win. It was a statement win that required attention from the champion.
Perhaps the next middleweight title challenger, Alex Pereira.
The rivalry between Adesanya and Periera is so ferocious that it threatened to consume the lead-up to UFC 276. Fans were clamoring for Periera and Adesanya to both win their fights so they could face each other again during the press conference.
White noise, it's all white noise.
Fazer pedido para todo mundo, até pro meu time. Vamos torcer pro Adesanya essa noite.
Alessandro Periera is a former middleweight and light heavyweight kickboxing champion. There's something in common with fighters that originate from Brazil and find success in the MMA world. The names that we've come to cherish, such as Charles Oliveira, also grew up in poverty in their hometowns. They faced adversity from the beginning and had to learn strategies for becoming better in every way. It's a small miracle they ended up being the men they are today. Alex Pereira is no exception. Pereira grew up in the favelas and dropped out of middle school to work at a tire shop at the tender age of 12.
Trabalhar cedo, né, em uma borracharia, com 12 anos de idade, 12 anos de idade, fazendo trampo ali de adulto, entendeu?
He was quickly lured by his friends to start drinking, which led to his becoming an alcoholic at an early age. Alex remembers trudging along his days guzzling drinks and causing trouble at the age of 21. It was during this period he decided to give kickboxing a try, which turned out to be the best decision of his life. Alex has an outstanding kickboxing career with over 40 kickboxing fights under his belt. He has a record of 33 wins, of which 21 are by knockouts, and 7 professional losses. He has one of the scariest left hooks in all combat sports, with which he knocks everybody he fights, whether opponents are lightweights or heavyweights.
Light heavyweight championship of the world on the line. Periera comes out, guns blazing.
Periera made his kickboxing debut at the 2013 WACO World Championships, where he won against Selby Devereaux. He won the Glory middleweight title by majority decision over Simon Marcus at Glory 46 China in 2017. He then challenged Glory light heavyweight champion Artem Vakitov at Glory 877. He became Glory 2's first champion by split decision in the promotion's history.
Glory light heavyweight champion of the world!
He battled Quemulo Tony in 2015 to make his MMA debut after huge kickboxing success. He lost the fight via submission. People doubted that he would manage to find similar success in MMA as he did in kickboxing. Yet Periera proved the critics wrong. Periera signed with the Legacy Fighting Alliance and made his promotional debut against Thomas Powell in 2020. What Periera is certainly most known for is his knockout win against Israel Adesanya in 2021. Periera signed with the UFC and made his UFC debut, winning against Andreas Michailidis at UFC 268. Periera then faced Bruno Silva. Silva's hard shots and grapple efforts damaged Pereira's striking. Periera won unanimously with 330-27 scorecards.
15 seconds.
Oh, he just broke his nose.
Backs him up again. Pereira trying to find the finishing touch now.
His UFC record stayed flawless despite a less convincing win than his debut. Sean Strickland, a loudmouth U.S. middleweight, was his next opponent. Strickland's devastating combinations were known for destroying his opponents. This would be Pereira's first real test. The fight would tell the world whether Periera had the strength to rise to the top of the UFC. The fight didn't make it out of round one. Periera was able to knock Strickland in a sequence that eerily reminded fight fans of the kickboxing bout between Periera and Adesanya. Before these two killers meet in the octagon on UFC 281, let's take a deeper dive into their first fight. There are no certainties in mixed martial arts, and while there are some fighters that always seem to be inevitable winners whenever they step into the octagon, almost everyone has suffered a defeat at one stage of their career. Despite Pereira's outstanding kickboxing record, he is most known for his knockout win against Israel Adesanya. Not once, but twice, Periera beat Adesanya in the Glory Heroes promotion. Before signing up to the UFC, the two fighters met for the first time in 2016 at Glory, an international kickboxing promotion based in Singapore. After 3 rounds, the judge gave Periera the unanimous win, a win Adesanya disputes to this day.
It was about 28-29. Judge 2 sees it 28-29.
But the second time they met in 2017, it was the stuff of highlight reels. Both warriors remember their fight for totally different reasons. Unlike their fight, Adesanya was by far the busier fighter and manhandled Periera for a large portion of the battle. However, the kickboxing world would soon witness the true power of the potent in a swift exchange. Periera connected his signature left hook with Adesanya's chin, resulting in him hitting the floor, struggling to get to his feet. It was a great win for the Brazilian, and it caught the attention of many promotions, including the UFC. However, in a recent ad for their upcoming fight, Adesanya made it clear that he plans to change the story. Their back and forth battles have fans across the world panting in anticipation of their UFC 281 showdown. Both competitors will be looking to accomplish various goals in this fight. Adesanya will be out for payback, hoping to erase the memories of his losses from the early encounters with the champion by scoring a sensational victory this time. Also for Izzy, this is a chance to further prove himself as the undisputed king of the middleweight division in the UFC.
He's got to be very careful.
If Izzy is driven by thoughts of vengeance, Periera will be driven by the terrors of his past shortcomings and acts of violence. Also, how his family and friends supported him as he pursued his goal of becoming a fighter. Even now, Periera continues to battle for his mother and father's honor. He has devoted his entire life to training to become the man and fighter he is now, and his dedication will not be diminished by defeat. It's tough to beat a man like Periera, but if someone's able to, it has to be none other than Israel Adesanya.